Hello everyone, we're back in the garden this week. It's not raining, it's not too windy, it's a beautiful morning for a garden assembly. So hi, how are you? It's been absolutely wonderful at school this week because we've had so many children back in the building. All of the staff have been wandering around the building with the biggest smiles on their faces because they're so happy to see everyone. We've had lots of new Year Sixes coming back and they have been brilliant, following the rules, understanding the one-way systems, understanding the idea of bubbles and where they need to go and who they need to be with. Their behaviour has been absolutely exceptional. And then of course we've welcomed back lots of new key worker children as well, who have equally been absolutely brilliant at learning how school is now, and they've found out that it isn't as worrying or as difficult as they thought it was going to be. It's been lots of fun seeing their friends again and getting to do activities with their adults in the classrooms. If you're still at home, I know that lots and lots of people are still putting in a huge effort with their home learning. And I want to say well done for that, because it can be quite hard going, can't it? Just keeping going at home all the time, getting your home learning done. But it's really, really important that you do that. And the teachers absolutely love getting your emails showing them what you have been doing. I was talking to one teacher the other day who said that she was just so happy with a picture that she was sent on her email. She said it just made her day. So keep going, because you're making your teachers really, really proud of you the way you're doing your home learning too. This week's assembly is on a massive subject, or it seems really massive, and it seems like I might just about to be able to give you a huge secret. This week's assembly is on the meaning of life. That sounds enormous, doesn't it? It sounds like it's a really serious question, maybe a slightly mad question. Actually, it's a really, really important question, and it's not too difficult to understand the answer. The meaning of life is what makes life feel interesting and good. It's as simple as that. And to achieve this, what mainly counts is fixing things. So it might be a small thing. It might be that your room is messy and you have to use your thinking skills and your understanding of life to work out what you need to do to fix it. Well, you know what you need to do to fix your messy room, don't you? That's right, you need to tidy it. And you might not want to, but you know, as well as I do, that when you tidy your room, it feels great. It feels great because you've got a tidy room, and it feels great because you've solved a problem that was annoying you. You use your intelligence and your skill to put something right, to stop it bothering or annoying you. You might do that in other, smaller ways, like if you have an argument with your mum, for example. You know what you can do to fix it. You might need to say sorry, and you might give her a hug. And that thing that's been bothering you goes away because you fixed it. What makes life bad is problems. So it makes a real lot of sense to understand that fixing problems is something that we have to do to make life good and give it meaning. Unfortunately, it's not always quite as simple as tidying your room or giving someone a hug, though. There are some really, really big problems as well as little ones. A big problem is something that's bad for other people as well as you. To get an idea of what you could do to make your whole life meaningful, you could pick out a problem to fix or help to fix because you can't or don't want to do it all by yourself. Weirdly, it doesn't matter quite how big or serious that problem feels right now. So you might ask yourself a question, why can't cities be nicer? Or how can people argue less? Or why can't everyone make funny jokes? Or why can't everyone have a nice job? Or you could start with something that really bothers you and is really serious. Maybe people leave too much rubbish on the streets. Maybe you're really worried about climate change. Or maybe, like the staff at Yattenden, you're really worried about what's been happening in America recently, and you're thinking about the Black Lives Matters movement. The teachers at Yattenden were talking the other day about how important it is that we talk about what's been happening in America. And Mr. Mayor was the one who brought it up in our staff meeting, and he said, do you think that we would be able to talk to our children about Black Lives Matters? So we decided that to include it in our assembly this week. And also then, Miss Marshall got together some activities and some work that you might want to do in school and at home to follow it up. You see, something really sad happened in America. And there was a man called George Floyd, and he was arrested by some police and treated really, really badly. And while he was in their custody, unfortunately, he died. Now, you might have seen this on the news, and you might not. But if you look at the newsround page, it gives you a really, really good summary of what happened so you can begin to understand it. Now, of course, this upset a lot of people. And the reason it upset a lot of people was because George Floyd was black and the policemen were white. And people feel that it is unjust and wrong that he was treated that way, and people believe that that is because he was black. Now, it's a very, very long history of why it has come to this kind of situation, but it's really important that we begin to understand the idea. So what Miss Marshall has done is she's put together some information for you so you can begin to understand it and discuss it with your families. And you can see all around the world that there are people who are protesting, and they are saying that it's really important that we fix this huge problem of black people and people of colour being treated not equally to white people. It's a huge problem, and it's a problem that you can be part of fixing. It's not a problem you can fix by yourself, but it might be one of those things that gives some meaning to your life when you try to understand a huge problem and you understand what you might be able to do to fix it. So it would be great if you had a look at those materials after this assembly, did some work on why Black Lives Matter. There are lots of other problems you might want to fix too. You've probably got some really, really interesting ideas. The earlier you start asking yourself about big problems that need fixing, the better. It's good to think about these things early on in your life because it gives you an idea of the kinds of skills that you might want to learn to help you fix things in life. Sometimes school, when you're sitting in a maths lesson, you might be learning about triangles, you might be thinking, but how will this help me in life? It's the power of thinking that enables you to solve problems and give your life lots of meaning. Maybe you won't manage to fix a big problem, but that doesn't matter either, because the point is that you're trying, and the point is that you're trying to help to fix the problem, even if it's just a little bit. Your life feels interesting if you're trying to do something good, and that meaningful feeling depends on what you're trying to do, not that you try to complete it. You can understand this feeling by imagining that you're doing a jigsaw puzzle. And there might be a piece that you just can't figure out what to do with it, and you turn it this way and you turn it that way and you try it in lots of different places, and eventually you find the right place. It fits perfectly with the other pieces around it, and it feels great to have finally put it there. You haven't finished the whole puzzle, but it feels like you're making progress. So the meaning of life isn't something big or scary, it's just the feeling that you're making progress, solving problems that most interest you, even if you haven't managed to solve it all yet. Our idea this week comes from possibly the most famous philosopher ever, and it's from Aristotle. Can you see the picture of Aristotle? He's doing a puzzle, isn't he? He's trying to figure out where his piece fits in the puzzle. I'm going to read to you about Aristotle. One philosopher who thought about what makes life interesting a lot was called Aristotle. He lived in ancient Greece. He was a bit too young to meet Socrates, who I think that we've talked about before. But one of his jobs was really, really interesting. He was the teacher of a young prince called Alexander. Alexander soon became king, and he led his army to conquer practically all of the most important countries at the time. As you can imagine, it must have been a pretty odd experience for a teacher to see someone they taught go on to conquer the world. Aristotle was interested in everything. He lived at a time when people did not know much, and he set out to think about lots and lots of different things, like how trees grow, why the wind blows, what's the best kind of government to have, why are some people happier than others, how are worms born, how to persuade people, and how thinking works. One of his big ideas was about skills. We're used to the idea of skill. We know that you can become skilled at shuffling cards if you practice a lot, or at speaking Arabic if it's not your usual language. However, Aristotle thought a lot more things were skills. He thought that making jokes, keeping calm, being kind, being sensible with money were all skills too. And he was right. He was right because we're not born able to do all of those things. It's what we learn as we grow up. Aristotle also thought that one of the things we most enjoy is using skill to achieve something that is important to us. We like accomplishing things that feel difficult at first, which we can deal with if we learn how. When we do this, we feel like our abilities and intelligence are being properly used. Aristotle thought that happiness was about feeling that life is meaningful, and that this was achieved by having an important goal and actively working towards it. That's our big idea for Curious Minds this week. It would be great if you could look at those activities that Miss Marshall prepared for you and have a really good think about what you might do to show that Black Lives Matter and begin to change things and make them more equal. Now, in next week's assembly, we're going to carry on that idea a little bit more. We're going to think about what being fair means. But bye for now.